So welcome to PAFOW East in Philadelphia, where I'll be one of your hosts over the next 2 days with Adamsen, who will be speaking in a minute. Your app is going to be your best friend over the next 2 days. There aren't any printed agendas, so we have a lot of sessions in here, but we also have sessions in other rooms around the conference facility. So we will help direct you there. So when we're breaking to a break that is going to be followed by breakouts, either me or Al will say who's going to be speaking in which room, and there'll be other people to help you to get there. But has everyone downloaded the app? Yeah? So if you haven't, do download the app. The agenda's up to date. You can interact with each other, which is one of the features of PAFOW, creating that safe environment so you can share and collaborate and learn. And also there's a little bit of fun on there as well. So I noticed that one of the questions on the app was, how far have you traveled to get here? So rather than ask for how many miles, I know I've spoken to someone this morning from Guatemala. I've seen Bridie, who's come from the Netherlands. I've seen a couple of people from Australia. What other countries? Just shout out countries that you've come from. If you're not from the US, we'll do the US in a minute. So what other countries? Argentina? Fantastic. Anywhere else? Costa Rica? Anyone else from Europe? Brazil? Italy. Fantastic. So this is a global conference, and it's one of 3 global conferences that we do at People Analytics and the Future of Work. So we had a conference earlier this year in San Francisco and also in London. So Philadelphia is the 3rd of the 3 that we're doing, and there are plans to go to other places in the world in future years. So firstly, my name is David Green. As I said, I'll be your co-host. You can tell by my voice that I am British. I have escaped Brexit Britain for a couple of days, which is very much of a relief because there's a lot of stuff going on there at the moment. And let's just say that Britain's not the only country that's got someone strange running it at the moment. I won't mention any other countries. So firstly, thanks to our sponsors. You'll find all the sponsor booths in the room where you're eating, so do spend time to go round and see them and see how they can potentially help you and your organisations. And each of the sponsors will be actually showcasing what they're doing as well over the next 2 days. One of the things that we've built into the conference this year really is giving the vendors an opportunity to talk to you about some of the stuff that they're doing. And actually, Al and the team are particularly good at going out there and actually identifying some of the more innovative vendors that are generally doing some interesting stuff, I think, that can support you in your work. So do see them. Do share. So this is at PAFOW Global is where you can find us on all those particular social media things, certainly on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And anything else that I might have missed on there. There's a cloud there. I'm not sure what that one is. It might be Instagram. And then let's try and get the conference trending as well. So on those of you that are on Twitter, hashtag PAFOW. Do take some pictures, and then let's try and get the movement going around the world as well. And then the website, pafow.net. Important logistical stuff here. Those of you who haven't managed to log into the Wi-Fi yet, you want the Western meeting is the channel that you want, and then the password is simply PAFOW, all lowercase. And it does work. I've been using it this morning since I've been in here, and it's pretty quick as well. So all good stuff. If there's any questions that people have got during the day, particularly around logistics, find me and Al, but particularly find Lara. Lara, do you want to stand up? Lara's come from Australia. She's probably had one of the longest journeys to get here. Emily and Alison. So the PAFOW team are around. You saw as you came in to get badges, there's people around that can answer any of your questions. We talked about the app. As I said, there's agenda in there. You'll see that if you're thinking of what sessions that you want to plan for yourself, there's some color coding for different themes of different sessions for the breakouts. This is the ballroom, so where all the general sessions are going to be held, but there are breakouts around talent acquisition and workforce planning. There's breakouts around data visualization, data science and management, and there's also a breakout, which is a pink one for workforce experience and culture as well. Also, this is the conference. We are live streaming the conference as well via the PAFOW Facebook channel. Yeah, and on YouTube. No, not on YouTube, just via Facebook. Yeah. So and LinkedIn. Facebook and LinkedIn. So if there's any of your colleagues who couldn't come, then drop them a line. They should be able to go onto the PAFOW channels and actually watch some of the conference live as well. So we're on television, which is a bit scary. And then also, again, via PAFOW.net, if you haven't already joined the Global People Analytics Network, which is the idea of keeping the conference going throughout the year, really, with ways for you to collaborate and share. And if you've got special interests, like for organizational network analysis, for example, then you can meet like-minded peers around the world who are also looking at that as well. So I do encourage people to sign up to that if they haven't already done so. And we're going live. I got things the wrong way around. So before I introduce Al, quick question. How many people is this their first PAFOW conference? Well, so quite a few of you. How many people is it their second? Third? More than 3? Oh, there's a few diehards here as well, particularly on speaker. So I think it's my 10th. But I know Al can beat me. So it's probably at least 25. So, I mean, what we really try and create here is that safe environment. There's plenty of opportunities to network. And what I'd encourage each of you to do is to meet at least 5 new people over the next 2 days who you haven't spoken to before. So you've got new contacts to go home with. And Al and I might check that tomorrow afternoon and find out how many people, new people that you've met. And you never know, we might be able to find a prize for the person that's met the most people. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Al Adamsen to the stage. Firstly, I think Al deserves a round of applause because he's been organising... He's been organising these conferences for over 10 years now, I think.
Yeah.
Over 10 years. And I think it started in a small hotel in San Francisco, and you probably had, what, 15, 20 people?
We had probably 15, 20 people. Many of you who are in this room were, chopping wood back when we first started, and it has obviously grown into something a bit special. Yeah. And so I appreciate you all, being here, both David and I do, because it's a big deal to take time out of your work schedule or whatever you do professionally and come here and spend time learning and connecting with one another. So it means a lot to me personally, and I know with David as well, as we build this movement around the responsible and ethical use of data, not only for the good of organizations, but for individuals themselves. So yeah, thank you all for being here. And thank you for making the trip. And I'm glad you're healthy this time. So David got a little ill in London, so we had to carry the weight.
Yeah, to send me home.
Yeah, no.
Before I infected everyone.
All right, David. Hey, round of applause for David. If you don't, your first point of action today is, if you don't already, follow David Grain, because he does the best job of any human being on the planet Earth of not only aggregating the relevant content related to people analytics, but also providing his own nuanced insights and ideas on what's going to advance the discipline. So, I mean, thank you, David, for being my partner and friend over these years. So, apologize for the registration challenge. I'm also kind of happy in a way that we're at a stage where we have a registration process and badges and all this stuff. Because as David noted, we started in the early 2000s. I was at Gap Inc. at the time, and I had the great pleasure of creating their human capital analytics capability at that time. And it was whatever, trying to make it up. I have an economics background. I was inspired by Tony Rucci and Gary Loveman and many others who had this idea of linking employee behavior with downstream outcomes. And I got very curious about, well, what drives employee behavior? And I created what was called an HR linkage model, and I'm not going to share that with you right now, but effectively, what decisions do leaders make? What does HR do that's affecting leaders, managers of the workforce, which effectively are the customers of HR, right? And downstream from that, how do they affect the customer experience? How do they affect innovation, operational efficiency, and in turn, financial outcomes? But that's a long causal chain, isn't it? There's a lot of variables. So what we're going to talk about over the next 2 days is where are we in 2019? Where are we going to be in 2020? Because when I grew up in this space in the early 2000s, it was really about this event-based research notion. We're going to talk about that in a second. Now, however, there's so much more that we can and are doing around data science, the application of artificial intelligence around people, and obviously the ethics of that we're going to discuss. My colleague Dirk Peterson is going to be here tomorrow to talk about ethics and people analytics. So the agenda that we have put together for you, I want to thank everyone who's going to be contributing over the next 2 days. I want to thank the sponsors personally as well, because when we first started this, it was just a bunch of practitioners getting in a room. And it was the case, too, where we were kind of doing our thing. By the way, show of hands, who's internal to an organization like People Analytics team or an HR professional? Show of hands. Okay, so the majority of you. So when I was doing this work way back when, and Inform was one of the companies that is very similar to, not very similar, I was going to get kicked in the shins by Vizier in one model, and People Insight, those who are doing it much better in 2019. But the thing is, there weren't many vendors out there at the time, so it was like, okay, we'll look at what Cognos and Brio and Inform are doing, but there's not really any reason that we want to break up our small, intimate gathering of people analytics professionals. But now there's so much innovation happening from the technology companies. And so they are here. They're here to share their innovations and ideas. So please, when you hear them and interact with them, this is not about sales. In my view, and I'm going to talk about it in a second very quickly, because I want to give Bridie and Ian their time. I do believe that we are not only going to be doing more in collaboration with startups and scale-ups in our space, but we're also going to be relying on other third parties to help deliver value to our organizations. So please engage with each other in an open mind, whether you be a technology company, practitioner, or academic, or whatever background you may have.